It's rewind time, ladies and gentlemen. Winner take all, and the end is here for WWE versus the alliance of WCW and ECW. Which company was standing tall at the end? Well, if you're watching 24 years later, you probably know the answer already because you're a wrestling fan, and this is quite an old one. But still, we're going to have a fun time diving into one. Myself and then Steve going back into yesteryear. The invasion brings back so much nostalgia, having, of course, WWE, WCW, and ECW all under one roof, which leads me to my first question to you, NX Steve. Fond memories do you have of the invasion angle? What were your thoughts when you were watching it for the first time around?
Yeah, I mean, 16 years old, the idea of just having WCW superstars, like, it's the same thing as we've had in recent years with, like, New Japan and AEW teaming together, and even TNA and WWE together. Just the possibilities are kind of, like, endless, really. I mean, obviously, in 2001, wasn't really clued up on the dirt sheets and stuff, so when it happened, I'm expecting the likes of Goldberg, Bret Hart to appear. So I'm kind of none the wiser to it then. But overall, I love the invasion. I think the invasion pay per view is one of my, or was one of my favorite pay per views outside of like any other of the sort of the mainstays of WWE at that point, Rumble, Survivor Series, whatever. And I think it's reflected as well. I think because for the longest time it was like their highest buy rate for a pay per view that wasn't a big four apparently for years. But yeah, no, I fondly remember it. Just like I said, the possibilities and the dream matches that you were looking at the time, just I think it got a lot of people excited.
It certainly had that vibe about it. And like for me, I remember watching it as, like you said, I would have been 15 at the time, just 1 year younger. And yeah, I mean, the possibilities of all these superstars under one roof. I was a massive ECW fan. So when you got those, especially involved, like RVD involved, I was sold hook, line, and sinker. And I was really excited to see what prospect we would get. Like yourself, wanted to see some of the big names in it. But like you said, where it kind of faded away at the end of WCW, didn't really follow it so much of the products in the year 2000 because it was difficult to watch. I kind of faded away, and I also felt to myself around that time period that perhaps maybe a number of the people had retired, so I wasn't expecting to see some of them. Of course, I was hoping to see a few of them, but you would learn in later years that arguably WWE kind of blew their load a bit early when it comes to the invasion. If they'd done this and booked this correctly, they could have had it for years. Like the invasion isn't as good as you remember, but this show has got a lot of buzz and excitement about it. And that's what I love about Survivor Series 2001 because it was WWE versus the Alliance. It was winner take all, one match at the end of the show, and you knew which company was going to go forward after that as the one and only company. And a load of other matches on the evening had stakes as well that would rely on people that regardless of the result, they would keep their jobs. So that was kind of a good thing that was going throughout the feeling of the show. There are a couple of dud matches in this as well, which we'll dive into as well. But overall, I did find myself having a bit of that buzz. But of course, look, if you look back at this and you book this now with without the rose tinted glasses, and this has been booked properly, you look in 2002, the NWO appear. You get Hogan, Hall, Nash. In Big Papa Pump, Scott Steiner comes towards the end of that year. You got Rey Mysterio comes in, of course, in 2002. Eddie Guerrero comes back to the company. He's not with them at this time. You look, for example, of people like Goldberg, who comes in 2003. These people weren't bought out of the contracts, but they do eventually end up in. And imagine if Sting had been brought in as well. I mean, that's when you see that the invasion angle could have been done properly, and we really could have had the best of the best. We wouldn't have to rely. And this is one of my things that I don't like about the invasion stuff, and look back at it 20 odd years later. And I even feel with this show as well, because all the titles, like WCW titles, are on WWE superstars and vice versa. You've got people that are representing WCW that were not a part of the company, and you've got people that are representing WWE that were not a part of WWE when this thing started. So in some ways, it's a bit of a mess, but in another way, looking back at it as how I was then, it was a fun mess. But looking at with it now, I'm going to look with it with a reviewing eye. And obviously, we will critique where it's needed to. But hey, there is some praise that will be still coming away on this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Vince wanted to draw it out, like we were talking just before we started, the fact that he wanted to draw this out another 4 months, and like you said, the teams are predominantly WWE guys. There's like aside from like Booker T, there's not really on RVD. There's no one on these teams that's really from the invasion side, and it was kind of you delayed it for one match. Like, yes, okay, there were stipulations on the line with like 3 or 4 of the other matches, but you ultimately it was all about the main event, and 8 out of the 10 competitors have already been in WWE for donkey's years. It's just the fact they have a heritage, and we'll talk about more when we get to it, because I think they could have done this a little bit better. But yeah, it's not the greatest show, and like you said, they could have done this. They could have dragged this out for the longest time, but ultimately, everyone knows the story with WCW, and like the first match that they do on Raw ends up in a no contest, and like even just, I'll tell you what, I'll give it props. Watching this back, the nostalgia for that WCW logo, I think one of my favorite wrestling logos I've ever seen is that WCW logo. But as well, like if you go to the Battle Royal, if you look at the competitors on the Invasion angle, there is a stacked roster of talent there. Billy Kidman, Lance Storm, Just Incredible, Raven. There's so many good wrestlers in there that just never do anything. And when you're in a battle royal to see if you have a job for the next year, spoiler alert, most of them end up keeping their job. It just, I guess, looking back at it now, it does feel really underwhelming for what they could have possibly done. Like you said, with NWO coming in a year later, Goldberg, Sting, not bringing Sting in was the biggest mistake. Like, Sting would have been like he would have been exactly the same as what he was in WCW. He would have been one of the biggest faces in the company, and it was just a crying shame, really. I think for me, that's probably the ultimate letdown from this Invasion angle, is that Sting never got to have a proper career in WWE.
Do you imagine WrestleMania 18, The Undertaker versus Sting, having them both in their prime at that time period? Would have been just amazing. Yeah. And also, just a final question, and before we dive into the show itself, I feel like I was going to save this to the end of the podcast, but I'm going to do it now because, look, spoiler alert, I think we all know WWE wins this. It's a review show. You would have seen it before you tune in here, and WWE is the company that exists today, so I don't think we need to insult intelligence here. But do you think, obviously, the idea of potentially a Alliance victory, what would have happened had WCW or the Alliance won this last match? What would have been the case of moving forward? Would the show Raw become Nitro? Would SmackDown become Thunder? Would it just been their version of WCW Raw, WCW SmackDown? Like, could they have done something like that and made exciting TV? Because we mentioned early 2002, NWO comes in. Like, they actually can bring their own people in as those contracts are being bought out. They could have done something where they could have just done something creative. I feel like, is there an argument that you could have said here with WWE, WWE wins LOL, of course Vince is going to bury the competition? Like, could they have found a way to have extended this and made this work for years? Maybe it could have been a case, actually, that Raw was the WWE side and that WCW was the, say, for example, the SmackDown side. So you could have had Raw and you could have had Nitro. Maybe television sponsors or something would be a reason why that wouldn't work. But you get my drift of how perhaps maybe they could have extended this, made this work for the long term, and actually kind of made the head-to-head work for a number of years rather than having to sort of what they did do in the end, which was WWE, everyone under one roof. Hang on, we have too many people here, so let's form the draft and we just have Raw roster, SmackDown roster, and then work with it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they would have come out with like Rory's Nitro or something, or Thunder Smack. You know what I mean? They could have integrated their names somewhere into the shows, but it really should have been what Survivor Series was about. Like, you should have had your brand split here. Whether you replaced SmackDown with Thunder, because I don't think they would. I think the idea was to replace Raw with Nitro at one point, which I think would have been stupid. So if you'd have replaced SmackDown with Thunder, which I wouldn't have been against, because I think Thunder is a cool name. I think it would have given them an excuse to build towards Survivor Series every year, to do that whole idea of brand supremacy. Obviously, you wouldn't have dragged it on for 20 odd years, but you could have done it for, like I said, until you get the likes of your Hogans in, because every time you'd have this almost this golden goose. Do you know what I mean? This ace in the pocket. Do you know what I mean? Someone from WCW's past that could come in and alter a complete pay-per-view because of them being like a mystery opponent or something. And it obviously didn't go down too well. I mean, I think obviously, I think a lot of people still enjoy it for what it is, but I just think it was just a complete shambles of a booking. And like, going back and I was thinking about this the whole way through watching the show, was like, if I'd have been doing prediction videos in 2001, sorry, I'd have easily sat there and gone, well, WWE's winning this anyway. And I think that the fact that obviously being a bit clueless to how the business worked back then, I suppose I genuinely got captivated by the fact that ECW and WCW could have won. And I think that's what the appeal was. And you got to remember at the time, their demographic is teenage boys. And not like the internet's not as big as what it is. And like I said, dirt sheets, unless you know about dirt sheets and you're doing tape swaps from your mates and stuff like that, it's kind of like you just go from the week to week television. And it was, and again, with the way they were producing TV as well, like you'd have something happen at the end of the show and it would end on a cliffhanger, forcing you to watch next week. Because again, we weren't clued up to dirt sheets and stuff. And like I said, TikTok and social media wasn't as big as it was now. Like anything happens after an episode of Raw, 20 minutes later after Raw, WWE are posting it themselves. So I don't know. I guess you kind of have to take it with rose-tinted glasses and enjoy it for what it was and the time period because it worked so well for them. But it's not great, and this pay-per-view isn't particularly great. You have some shining moments, but you think for what's supposed to be the culmination of a storyline where this alternative company is coming in and trying to destroy your brand, and it ends kind of a bit lackluster. I wouldn't necessarily say lackluster. I think like the plot twist is great, but I just think it's really underwhelming. And for the names that they don't use, it seems poor and weak, if anything.
I think it's a simple case of, and this is opinion based, but I'm pretty sure this is a consensus that many people would say Vince McMahon is basically too proud to let the victors have any
Middle finger.
Yeah, it's a middle finger to WCW and ECW. You're being buried in the ground, and we are the ones that survive. But of course, ECW would make a mini comeback a few years later. But you mentioned about the show. We should dive into it. Bob in House, by the way, thank you, Bob, for your comment. He says that 2001 will be much better than this year. Not a fan of the idea of our current women's champions in WWE at this particular time. But let's go into the mix then. Obviously, this show, Survivor Series 2001, World Wrestling Federation. At that point, we are still before Panda lawsuits get kicked in. November 18th, 2001 is the date of the show. It's in Greensboro, North Carolina. It's in the Coliseum complex of Greensboro as well. We've got in attendance 13,142. The buy rate, yes, we're talking the buy rate era. We're back in yesteryear. 450,000. Of course, the tagline, winner take all. It's not the first time I've already said that on this stream. We had a video package to kick things off of the show as well. Of course, what I used to love as well back in the old days, you'd have the classic "The End Is Here," that song there to play for this, obviously, because we have the big rivalry, the big culmination of WWE versus WCW, and also just we always used to see these videos of classy Freddie Blassie sort of sitting there in the chair. Used to be a sort of very nostalgic, classic thing you get for a lot of these WWE video package promos. Seeing a lot of classic footage through WWE. Shawn Michaels stood out for me as well. The boyhood dream coming true. All these sort of great moments that have built in the company over like a 10-year period, and then sort of moving it forward to what we had, which of course was the invasion angle and WCW, ECW trying to take over and building to what was around our main event. I thought it was a pretty decent video package to open the show. What was your thoughts with it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to base this on two factors. I think for the time, it's great because you are symbolizing that, look, this company, that the heritage that it has and the decades it's been around could end tonight. I think looking at it now, it's kind of a bit lackluster because, like I said, this is meant to be the culmination of that story. And the only thing that really matters is the main event. Yeah. Everything else was a case of, if you've got a title, you've still got a job tomorrow, essentially. And it was kind of like they didn't really emphasize enough of that for me. So it's kind of half of one and 50 of another with that video package. But again, it's still done well. Like you said, Freddie Blassie, and obviously his heritage that he has with the company, it's done very well. I just think 25 years later, it's kind of underwhelming.
I understand that. Obviously, yeah, like you say, you go with the rose-tinted glasses, you go and enjoy it for the moment where you were then, compare it to where you are now. Of course, things have evolved massively in that time period. But Just a quick question, as you grumbled on that, it's a one-match show. Obviously, Invasion was a show that took place in July in 2001. Is that retro already on this channel? But your thoughts then? Obviously, that show had like a scorecard going throughout the night. Should this show have had a scorecard going throughout the night? Should it have been like WWE versus WCW ECW, and it been like 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, and building up to the main event, where obviously that match could have been the decider?
I don't think this mean they weren't building it for the whole card. I mean, look, let's just briefly mention the names of the first two competitors in the opening match, Christian and Al Snow. It's not exactly like this match is nothing. Like I didn't actually know it was for the European title until about 2 hours into the pay-per-view, because at no point do they announce it's for the European title. Like, they just talk about how this match came around, but then it's only when JR mentions it on commentary later, when he's recapping the results from the night, that he says it was for the European Championship, and I'm like, oh, okay, fair enough. Wouldn't have had a clue about it. But yeah, when you're throwing Al Snow and Christian on a pay-per-view, it just shows that nothing else apart from the main event matters on this.
It feels like, because this was set up on Heat as well. Heat on MTV at this point also, which was just funny. That sort of was a throwback. Yeah, Al Snow was like a host for Heat, and this match got set up on there. Excuse me. And like, yeah, like you said, this match, what is he doing on the show? And Christian is for the Alliance. He's always been in WWE. Just batshit crazy, if you ask me. But anyway, if you love your headbutts and if you love your kicks and your punches, this one just might be for you. But when it gets to the final sort of minute of the action, Al Snow lands his snowplow on the Christian, but Christian gets his foot on the bottom rope on the 2 count. Christian then gets himself to the floor. He's chased around on the outside. Christian gets back in the ring. Al Snow looks to meet him, gets a kick straight in the face. And then obviously Christian brings him back in, hits the unprettier, and picks up the victory. It's a Christian win.
Yeah, first of all, was Al Snow's music dubbed over?
Sounded like it. It's not the only one dubbed on the show.
Oh, is it really? Because it was the only one I clearly noticed, and then for about the first 2 or 3 minutes, there's like a buzzing noise throughout this entire match. Like, I genuinely paused the video because I was like, "What is going on with the audio?" Like, thinking like something in my house was going off. But no, there's some weird sort of audio buzzing noise. And eventually, once you get past that, I didn't think this was that bad. JR confuses the unprettier, which I was like, that's great when your play-by-play commentator doesn't recognize moves anymore. But aside from that, I just thought it was an okay match. I didn't understand the necessity for this match to be on the card because it's for the European title. Sure, but surely that then you could have put that into with the IC title and the US title match. I don't know. Why was the European title treated like it was the more important title, when if anything the unification should have been between the European and the US title, because they're both like geographically based titles, so surely that would have made more sense. I don't know, but I didn't think it was that bad. I gave it a 2. I thought it was like a bog standard TV quality match for me.
I gave it 1.5. It was just there, no point, blah. And look, the thing is, this is the difference as well, though. Spoilt fan in 2025, the way that shows are organized are different here to how they're built back then. Back now, you have your second biggest match of the night open the show. That's what it is. It's usually a 25-minute screamer, and all the bells and whistles to try and give you a 5-star to open the show. Then they'll dip you afterwards to then bring you back up towards the end of the show, where here they usually start with the curtain jerkers and just try to, it's almost like a chart. You try and sort of go up and glide up to the top and get your feeling as you're going along, like almost listening to an album. But for me, I don't know. For me, this felt a little bit flat just to kick off the show. But however, they are 2 credible workers, so I'm not going to knock them for that. It's just, it seems a bit random to be on this show. But still, one. I'm going to give it 1.5.
Christian had his crap music as well, which I wasn't a fan of. So, I mean, I really should have marked it down more for that alone.
I can understand your feelings. Well, you've not been a fan of that one when we've used it in the past. I can say that for sure. Looking here at the Dave Meltzer rating, 2 3/4 star rating for 6.5 minute match.
I think Dave might have been drunk that night.
He
That's
might have been.
outrageous. It was not that great. Okay, rose tinted glasses. That is a review from 24 years ago, so times have changed. But still, that's a box standard TV match, if anything.
I mean, Queensborough is nowhere near the Tokyo Dome. I don't know what that's got of a high star rating like that, but that's life. That's what we
Would be
got there
interesting
for
to
you.
see days reviews from the Tokyo Dome from that year, though.
Yeah, would be interesting indeed. And we go backstage anyway. The Alliance, of course, are waiting as Austin and Deborah arrive. There are questions over Stone Cold's loyalty after he smiled at Vince McMahon on SmackDown. And Austin proclaims he is not joining WWE, also getting in Booker T's face and pretty much been a bit disrespectful to the entire Alliance team as well. We do see Vince McMahon and Linda McMahon as well talking backstage also. And Vince says he is taking a calculated risk. Why do 5-on-5 when actually saying there will be 6 WWE members that will defeat the 4 members of the Alliance? Who is the mole? But then William Regal comes out, pretty much tells Vince McMahon he's not buying it. Talk about long-term storytelling, starting the build for when Regal was the first person to join Vince McMahon's Kiss My Ass Club.
Yeah, I mean, just to add on slightly, the fact that Linda McMahon had better acting than most of the guys in that locker room was shocking as well. Like, that's some of them honestly horrific. I think even Austin struggled with like the multi-person commentary that he's trying to play through with all of them, and like, yeah, Linda had better lines and delivered the whole promo a lot better. But yeah, I was really shocked to see Regal. Like, I kind of didn't make sense why randomly he's there. Like, he never really achieved anything. I suppose because obviously he's an Invasion member. It just feels like he's like a really insignificant character to be putting in a promo spot with Vince McMahon.
Yeah, I understand your feeling with that, but I mean, the thing is, because Regal is he's the WCW commissioner at this point as well.
Right.
So he's not on team. He should be on Team WWE, but in a way, it kind of makes sense. He has been in WCW for years in the past. He joined them in 1993, and I believe he was with the company all the way until 1998. So he had actually had more time in WCW than he had in WWE at this point. But yeah, I don't know. Just seemed a bit of a strange one, especially when it takes you to our next match as well, which is WWE's Tajiri, who had only been in the company for 6 months after he'd spent the whole time in ECW for a good couple of years, against William Regal, of course, as part of the Alliance. But William Regal brought Tajiri into WWE, so that's what's kind of led to this match a little bit. But also what's led to this match is that William Regal, on the SmackDown before this show, attacked Tajiri's girlfriend, Tori Wilson. Don't make me say that sentence twice.
What a player. Tajiri, who would have thought that? Like, guy's got game. I'll give him props for that.
Absolutely. He certainly is the buzzsaw. There's no need to argue with that one. But
yeah, no, look, he got that nickname for a reason. Like, we think it's wrestling related. It really could be something else.
It certainly could be indeed. But this match, less than 3 minutes long, which is a bit disappointing in itself, because these two, I think, would have had a bit of game if they'd been given a bit of time to work with. But look, Tajiri busts Regal open very early into the match with his one of his kicks. And as we get towards sort of a couple of minutes later into the match, Regal just simply hits an underarm hook powerbomb and just picks up the victory. There's no build to like a final third, anything like that. He just hits it, gets the 1, 2, 3, decides to hit one more after the match. And then as he's leaving the ring, that brings Tori Wilson to the ring. Regal comes back and it's one on her.
Again, no context for me with this. Like, I thought, okay, Regal's just going to powerbomb a woman. Sure, okay. Suppose it adds more to the heel character. I gave this a 1, and I think even that was generous, but I have my reasons for it.
Yeah, and any that you haven't mentioned already that you would like to?
No, it's more to do with the matches that are coming up is the reason why I gave it a 1.
Fair enough. The thing is, I understand it. I mean, look, I actually probably enjoyed the in-ring action more than the first match, so I'm going to give it a 1.75 star rating. But there was no time, there was no context. There's just nothing. If you're watching this and you haven't watched the build up to this show in any way, shape, or form, which, let's be fair, right now with Netflix we don't have that option at the moment. Yeah, there's not really much to sink your teeth into with this match. And I do think these two, had they been given a chance to have an 8 to 10 minute match, I think we would have been having a bit of a different story, because Regal was a bit of an underrated gem, in my opinion. Tajiri, around that time period, was one of my favorites to actually watch in ring. I always used to love his in-ring style. The kicks always used to be brutal, the tarantula as well. So there would have been a lot to have gained from that one, but we just didn't get
I used to hate the tarantula. I thought because it was supposed to be his finishing move, and yet he could never win with it because it was a rope break. And I'm like, why? Why have you got this? I genuinely used to hate it.
Fair, fair. I used to love it. I thought it was quite creative. But yeah, of course, we go backstage after this one and we get a bit of a video package of what goes on with Test and Edge and how they end up having their match set up for this show. So Edge is the IC champion. Test ends up stealing the championship by putting his feet on the ropes in a match. Leads to these two then, where I think Edge wins the United States Championship from Kurt Angle, if I'm not mistaken. And then we have a unification match set for Survivor Series for these two because there's still bad blood for Edge and Test after this. We get though to backstage where Test is pretty much saying that he's not been oiled up very, very well. Stacey Keebler comes in. Test suggests a night out for some description for them after the show. Perhaps even suggests that him and Stacey should unite after the show. And she doesn't say no. She says maybe. And yeah, she sort of puts a hand across his butt. Pretty much. Yeah. But I mean, they were dating in real life for a good couple of years.
Fair enough. Hey, look, I just generally thought this was WWE trying to portray Test as some sort of sex pest, if I'm honest, and I don't think it was ever really needed. I thought I always under that Test. I thought like the guy had presence about him. Like the guy's like 6'7", 6'8", something like that. He's jacked. He's like nearly 300 pounds. He's a good-looking guy. Do you know what I mean? He fits the Vince McMahon profile of what a top guy should be, and just okay, portray him as sex pest, sure, why not?
I mean, if only Triple H hadn't have ruined that wedding in 1999, maybe it could have been Test and Stephanie, and maybe Test could have been a multi-time champion. It didn't quite work out for him, unfortunately. But we did get ourselves a good unification match. And to be honest, 2001, this show, I can remember it. I can remember going back and thinking to myself, this was the match outside of the main event I was interested most in, because I was a huge Edge head at that point. I was waiting and wanted the Edge at the top of the card. Test I knew was someone that's pushing his way towards that time, that place in the card as well. So I was really buzzing, looking forward to this one. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to the match itself, was pretty decent between these two throughout. But I like that Test hit this wicked spear on Edge, gets a 2 count from it, hitting Edge's own finisher against him. Edge hitting a spear of his own after missing the big boot as well. Again, this was a 2 count, and eventually Edge had to use a victory roll to pick up the victory and becoming unified champion.
I actually really like this. I thought this was one of the best matches on the card of the night. Obviously you have to do with the pacing and stuff, but as you get into that final third of the match, there's loads of great near falls. Like you said, Test hits a great spear, Edge hits a great one, and I just thought it was a well executed match. I really enjoyed this. I gave this 3 1/4. I'd like to say I found this really entertaining, and like you said, you was a massive Edge guy, and obviously, as you just heard me, I was a massive Test fan back in the day. So you and me were watching this must have been like literally pitching for either side of it when back in 2001. So yeah, like I said, it's just a great match. I did not hate this at all. I thought this was solid. It's just obviously you've then got to wait silly amount of years before Edge goes on to win a Money in the Bank and becomes a WWE champion. But hey, man, this was a great way to like almost steal the show.
Yeah, I mean, it's easily the best match of the show by this point of the evening. I loved this match back in 2001. I must admit, when I watched it here, I don't know what it was. I didn't quite connect to it the same as much this time around, but still was much better than what we'd had previously. So I gave this a 2 3/4 star rating. Yeah, I thought this was good. I mean, Edge, obviously, he does go as a superstar. And like you say, I think he has to wait a little while before he ends up going for Money in the Banks and stuff like that. He sort of ends up in this it almost feels like he's like a pre-Roman Reigns, if you will, in a way. Like he's sort of experimenting with this kind of face run. It's almost like he's big dog face, but he doesn't quite get to where he's booed by everybody. So he has to, before he becomes a world champion, so he has to turn heel. Then they get a fantastic run out of him being the rated R superstar, and of course, then he's had a couple of face runs afterwards. But and obviously had 11 world title reigns as well.
Yeah, I mean, like I was watching an interview with him earlier, and like he was talking about the whole dynamic of him and Christian breaking up the first time round, and how he doesn't think that they've done enough to build them two up as this kind of tag team that were going to be around forever, to that point where they do the breakup story, it will be as good as what it should have been. Because I agree, I think they dropped the ball with them, especially when they were portrayed as brothers. But yeah, Edge went on to do very, very well for himself. Christian, he did okay, like not as many world titles, but he was still like, I believe, a 2-time world heavyweight champion, a multi-time TNA champion. So yeah, like great careers at the end of the day. But just like, it's just Vince booking in it really. And for that time period, unless you had the body of a Greek Adonis, you ain't gonna get far. Which Edge isn't exactly the most jacked guy.
Certainly not, indeed. Star rating from Dave Milps over this one was 3.5 star rating. Because I forgot in the last match, William Regal Tajiri, 1.5 star.
Oh, what, from Dave?
Yeah,
that's fair.
big Dave.
It didn't need to be on the show.
No, absolutely not. We've got some comments in because we got our good friend CD in house. CD, thank you for joining us. Hope you are well. He says, fun fact, Edge is the only person to have held the IC title and United States Championship at the same time. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that is so true. Also, Edge is a better heel than babyface. Would have to agree there.
I don't know. You give Edge the right opponent, I think he can do well as a babyface. Like, especially when Alberto Del Rio, I think he was excellent as babyface. But yeah, I will say most of the time he's a better heel.
The thing is, I think he's exceptional at both roles, but I would say he's a better heel than a babyface. He's not just because he's a better heel doesn't mean he's a bad babyface. So that's where I would go with that.
Yeah.
And who would have thought that Edge would be an 11-time world champion in 2001? Certainly not me. At that point, I was begging for him to be one-time world champion. In fact, as I mentioned, I think at the start, I've definitely mentioned this off air. I don't have to mention at the start of the video. Just Bring It was the wrestling game that came out that year on the old PlayStation. Edge was my choice for the career mode to go and win the world title. I remember friends at school said, what are you doing picking Edge for? He's never going to be a world champion.
Yeah, look at him now, though. But it's a shame that, because I think he would have been like, he'd have been up there with John Cena and Randy, like close to that 16th, 17th world championship if he'd obviously not been injured. So it's a shame. But yeah, man, the guy did everything and won everything. Like, he's won a Rumble, a Money in the Bank. He's been a main eventer at WrestleMania, 11-time champion, multiple IC champion, United States champion, tag team champion. He's won everything, man. He's had a great career.
He certainly has, indeed. Bob says that Edge is a good babyface in AEW. He would agree. Like I said, he's a great babyface. Just think he's a better heel. I would agree with that. He's a better heel. And CD says, correct, Christian, 2-time world heavyweight champion. And speaking of Christian, another fun fact, ECW title in WWE, TNA world title, AEW, and WA. He's done quite a lot there. He's done quite a lot.
I think he's the only person that's ever actually done that. I think he's the only other person to be like big main champion in all 5 brands, all 5 companies.
Yeah, there you are. There you are, indeed.
That's a quiz question for you.
It certainly is, indeed. Just a quick other couple of comments here. Bob, he's a fan of Brie mode. Don't tell Alex, Steve.
No.
And David, this is a question I was going to say to him because it's not actually related to what we're doing, but you've seen the reports this week, Brett saying that he thinks that Shawn Michaels a bit. I mean, I just don't know what to think, really.
Brett.
Yeah.
Brett's just being Brett. Yeah. There was another. Obviously, he couldn't do another podcast without mentioning Goldberg. So just take it for what it is with Brett.
Yep, in one ear, probably out the other. It's probably the best way to go with that one. Yeah, kind of agree with you on that. We move on in the meantime, though. Stephanie McMahon pleading the cut angle, saying that if she was to lose, she would have to become a regular person. Love that. That was brilliant.
Tell me you're privileged without telling me you're privileged.
Yeah. I have to get the groceries from the grocery shop myself? No.
Yeah. I have to cook my own food? What is this?
Yeah. What was I have to clean my own house?
I have to walk my own dog?
Yeah. Who would have thought it, eh, Steph? Who would have thought it, living in the real world, eh? And afterwards, we get the Hardy Boys with Lita. Matt Hardy's been acting strange a bit recently, and Matt Hardy said, well, no, I think we all should be acting a bit strange here. He pretty much said, this is my dream. This is my job, and I get to live my dream. I do not want to lose my dream, and it should affect you all as much as it affects me. I think he's got a bit of a point, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't know where the context of the story goes after the results and stuff. So I don't know, but or even before, like why he's acting weird. But yeah, Danny's absolutely spot on, and unfortunately, his premonition didn't come to fruition.
Absolutely. But one thing's for sure, the WCW World Title run or Tag Team Title run was officially deleted. They took on the Dudley Boyz in the steel cage match, title unification match here for the 2 Tag Team Championships. So this steel cage match has a bit bonkers when it comes to its rule set. But once it gets going, I think it's pretty darn good. But NXT, I'm going to let you do the honors and tell us a little bit of how the rules structured the match and how you felt about it, because I know that this was a big talking point for you.
So first of all, they're treating a steel cage match like a normal tag team match, which I thought was balmy, because I'm like, why are we doing tags? And then there's a moment in a little, like a couple, like 4 or 5 minutes in, where both Matt and Jeff are in the ring. When I'm sitting thinking to myself, surely only the legal man has to climb out to win this. So why are both of them trying to climb out? Because again, I'm still trying to comprehend how the rules of this steel cage match work. And then you get onto the actual finish where Jeff climbs out. So okay,
Matt climbs out, isn't it?
Oh, sorry. One of them climbs out, regardless. One of them climbs out the ring. No, I think it's Jeff that climbs out because Matt's left on his own. Oh, no, you're right. It is Jeff. It is Matt because Jeff does the swanton off the top of the cage. Yeah, Matt climbs out, and you'd think, oh, they've won the match. No. Jeff has to climb out as well. Okay, but then the Dudleys pin Jeff and win. Matt's already escaped. Surely they've won. Why are the Dudleys now pinning to win this match? Like, honestly, this was the most cuckoo set of rules. Like, we've seen crazy stuff. Come on, we've seen zombie lumberjack matches. This is by far the most weirdest. Like, we've even seen Queensberry rules matches. This is still weirder than that. Like, it just makes no sense on how the structure is and how you actually win this thing.
Nothing will ever top a Canadian rules Lance Storm match with Jack Rougeau with the rule book at ringside. But still, look, the thing is ultimately tag team steel cage matches, even when you go back to some of the real old school ones, and I had the privilege of watching one less than a couple of years ago, was the Steiner Brothers and Money Inc. And both members had to climb out. And that's always the risky part when it comes to the cage match, because when one goes out, they leave their teammate in there, and obviously then they're disadvantage with a 2-on-1 with the other people, so it can lead to the downfall. But back at that cage match, Steiner's were climbing back in that had already climbed out to get back into the match, and then was left in the cage because the other one had climbed out. So they always had a bit of balmy rules, but the tag team element was very strange because of the fact they're making tags at the start of this match, and then within about 3 or 4 minutes they just went, screw this, we're just going to go full. And I think really for the sense of the match, they should have just gone tornado rules from the very, very start. Because once the tornado rules sort of kicked in, they didn't bother with the tags anymore. This match was fun. And I'm telling you, this is fun because you would think a steel cage, especially with high flyers, usually it can limit them because they like to fly up to the floor. Hardy's particularly like to get the ladders. How is a Dudley going to get a table? You know, they found a way, by the way. Thank you, Stacey Keebler at ringside. But still, nonetheless, they made a real fun go of this one. And I mean, there's some real fun spots in this as well. The Russian leg sweep off the side of the cage, which of course featured Matt Hardy and Devon Dudley. On the opposite side, within seconds after Bubba Ray hitting a atomic bomb off the bomb. He calls it the Bubba bomb to Jeff Hardy off the cage. That just looked brutal, just to say the very, very least. Bubba goes to throw Jeff into the cage, but Jeff tries to escape, but then he gets caught and then suffers a doomsday device. Again, looked awesome the way Jeff sold it. It felt like he'd been killed. Hardy's hit their leg drop and their smash from the top as well in unison. Just looks really, really cool, especially in the cage as well. And like you say, Matt Hardy gets out the cage, and this leads them to the point then when Jeff Hardy is left on his own. Stacey Keebler was distracted the referee to get the key to get a table in the ring. But Jeff is the one that's going to go to try and use that table. He's at the top of the cage. Instead of climbing out to pick up the victory, he goes for the swanton because he just can't help himself, and he misses a Dudley boy. He goes through the table and he gets pinned, and that means the Dudley boys win, unify the tag team titles, and even worse for poor Jeff Hardy, he's stretchered out.
Oh, gnarly bump. Like he basically missed most of that table as well. So yeah,
Mm.
to have first to be on the receiving end of that Bubba bomb, which looked rough, then to swanton 20 foot off the top of the cage and land flat back on through a table onto it. I mean, yeah, how again Jeff is still alive today still surprises me. But yeah, otherwise, look, like I said, really good, really entertaining match. Just the rule structure just kind of was a bit perplexing with how it should have gone down. But otherwise, I love this as well. I think this was again one of the best matches on the card of the night. I went with a 3 1/4, a 3 1/4 again because yeah, just like I said, I enjoyed it and it made sense. The title unification, it had aspects there that made this a really good match.
Absolutely. And the thing is, as well, it doesn't matter what stipulation you give the Hardys and the Dudleys, they make it work each and every time. It can be a tables match, it can be a ladders match. Hell, you throw a steel cage, they make it work.
Bubba was phenomenal in this match with his selling. Like, I'm not really a big avid watcher of the Dudleys when it comes to their selling and stuff, but watching Bubba in this was phenomenal.
Absolutely. And there's one spot I've not mentioned in this match, but just it really made me wince. I think it was Matt Hardy. He was in between the ring rope and the cage, and just the way full speed Bubba runs into the cage to squash Hardy to go. It just looks. I mean, to be fair, at the pace he runs in to do it as well, you wouldn't have been surprised if that cage had collapsed. Do you know what I mean? That's how hard they hit into the cage. It was pretty awesome to see. But 3.5-star rating for me. I thought this was a lot of fun. And they just stopped the other bit from maybe the first sort of couple of minutes of the match. This could have gone as high as a 4. I mean, it was that good, to be fair. Just to get Dave Meltzer's star rating for this one, he's gone for 3.25 star rating. This match, longest match of the show so far, 15 minutes and 45 seconds. Got a question for you. It's come flying in here from Bob, and this is. I don't think there's a wrong answer. Maybe Bob will disagree with that. Maybe he has an answer. He's waiting to see which one we say. Bob, give us your answer as well. Who are the better tag team, the Hardys or the Dudley Boyz?
I'm going to say the Hardys just because I think they have more versatility. And Bob, especially for the time, Jeff was willing to jump off of anything. And Devon was famously afraid of doing bumps off of ladders. And I think they add more of an exciting element to it where I'd want to watch them more than the Dudleys.
Dudley Boyz are my favorite tag team of all time. So I will go with the Dudleys. And just because watching their run in WWE, seeing some of the stuff they did in TNA, but also ECW, like the way these guys could get heat was like none other. You lived them alive, Mike, in front of that ECW crowd. There was some riots going on in that place a lot of the time.
Even in WWE, when they're powerbombing Mae Young through tables and stuff, that's crazy. Like, you think about it now, like, as a 60, 70-year-old woman getting powerbombed through a table off the top of the ring post, you wouldn't do that nowadays. So, yeah, like I said, they can get that nuclear heat, man.
They also win titles everywhere they go. But look, end of the day, Dudley Boyz, Hardy Boyz, they had to get through the Brood, but then it's a pretty cool theme entrance, and Gangrel was pretty cool as well. I mean, they found their way pretty well with Michael Hayes going on to do their ladder stuff. But the Dudley Boyz, they had to make tie-dye and a stutter work to get over, and they managed to do it. So, yeah, I'm going to go for the Dudleys. But there's no wrong answer. And if you asked in 2025, the Hardys are still going. So, I mean, there's a legit argument. Hardys are probably the right answer for many. CD says pretty crazy that the Hardys and Dudleys have had 2 matches with 2 titles on the line. First, it was with the WWE and WCW, and then it was NXT and TNA. Absolutely. They are no strangers to number of titles that being on the line.
Pub quiz question.
I know. CD, you could be the host. I'm down for that. Down for that indeed. But yeah, let's move on in the meantime for us now as we go to WWF New York. Always a fun time. Get a bit of nostalgia when I see New York with WWF. But Mick Foley was there, and he said that Vince McMahon made him be there. As much as he loves New York, he would rather be at Survivor Series, especially as he's the WWF commissioner. But he said being commissioner and answering to Vince McMahon is a bit of a joke, and he will be in Charlotte, North Carolina on Raw. And he will be having quite a lot to say, especially if WWE were to win. I'm guessing, because I've not looked further on, I probably should have done my research for a minute. I think Foley probably isn't commissioner for a lot longer.
No, I would imagine so as well. I'll have a look while you're carry on talking and see what happened.
I mean, 2002 he's definitely not around, so I'm saying I think he's probably losing his commissioner role probably very quickly. But backstage, Test finds Scotty too hotty and asks Scotty, "Hey, you're in that immunity battle royal, aren't you?" And Scotty's like, "Yeah, what is it to you?" Well, Test made it his business, attacked Scotty too hotty, brutalized him backstage, and went, "You're not in it anymore." So yeah, I think then it puts us on nicely to what our next match is going to be, which of course, yes, is the Immunity Battle Royal. And what is an Immunity Battle Royal? I hear you ask at the screen. Simply, this is a battle royal. Throw your opponent over the top rope. 2 feet must hit the floor, as a usual battle royal would be. But the winner of this match could not be fired, whoever won, whether it's WWE or the Alliance, for 12 months. So, hey, they could have been stuck with someone they didn't want for 12 whole months. So that's it's quite a bit of power, to be fair, to win this. Probably the best match to win on the show, really, unless you're in the main event. But there's a host of names that are involved in this match, by the way. It's going to go through some of them for you now. We've got from the WWE side, we've got Albert, Billy Gunn, we've got Bradshaw, we also got on the other side Billy Kidman, Chuck Palumbo, Chavo Guerrero, Crash Holly, DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, Farouk, Funaki, Hugh Morris, Just Incredible, Lance Storm, Perry Saturn, Raven, Shawn Stasiak, Spike Dudley, Steven Richards, Taz, the Hurricane, and Tommy Dreamer, just to name a few in this 7-minute, 40-second match. Got a few notes on it. I mean, first off, Shawn Stasiak is thrown out as the bell rings, or probably just before. He was that quick. He could have actually been out beforehand. Maybe he wasn't ever eliminated. Maybe he's like Curtis Axel in the Royal Rumble. The Hurricane was clotheslined from hell by Bradshaw over the top rope. That looked pretty brutal, to be saying the very least. Taz entered the ring partway through the Battle Royal. He's actually put the chokehold, his Taz mission on Paul Heyman. So I'm guessing he's not with the Alliance anymore, but he wasn't with Team WWE either. Another 2 people that were not with the Alliance anymore, because they were fired by the Alliance, was Hugh Morris and Chavo Guerrero. As I mentioned, they got in the ring as well. They eliminated some people like Raven and Funaki, but they got eliminated themselves. Billy Gunn actually doing a press slam to Chavo, throwing him over the top rope to Hugh Morris, who had already been eliminated, onto the floor. Taz loses focuses on Paul Heyman, therefore he's thrown out with Billy Gunn. We see Kidman given a fall-away slam over the top rope to the floor by Bradshaw. Absolute trooper as well on Billy Kidman. And then Test eliminates Lance Storm and Bradshaw together, which leaves him and Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn goes for the famouser, but then is met with Test's big boot, which sends him over the top rope. So Test, who probably about 30 minutes earlier in the show, if had the Alliance lost, he would have lost his job. Instead, wins the Immunity Battle Royal, so he keeps his job. And true and behold, he does stay with WWE for at least another 12 months.
Well, this was a dud, mate. I did not care for this. So the amount of quality wrestlers that they had in, like I said at the top of the show, that you got Billy Kidman, Lance Storm, Raven, Just Incredible, DDP. How is DDP not winning this match? I just don't understand it, man. I thought this was a dud. I thought it was just Vince's way of keeping Test, I suppose, predominant in this TV show, but I didn't care for it. I think the booking was all wrong. Wrong people were eliminated by wrong people. Apart from Stasiak, I think that was probably the most correct calling of the whole match. Even then, Funaki lasted longer than Shawn Stasiak. So is that even right? I don't know. I just thought this was a dud. I didn't care for it. I probably would have in 2001, but otherwise, not for me, this one.
Funaki lasted longer than DDP. Just throwing it out there.
There you go.
The invasion isn't as good as you remember, ladies and gentlemen. DDP was not the people's champion. He was a stalker of The Undertaker's wife. But yes, still, look, ultimately, I agree with you. People were eliminated a lot in the wrong areas in this match. It just goes to show, because when you looked at the WCW side, I was like, there's some good names in here for this battle royal. Then I saw the WWE side. I was like, this takes a bit of the quality down in this match. But hey, the WWE it felt like they were on top for a lot of the match. But Tesla, it made sense. He crept his way into this one and won the battle royal. He wouldn't have been your prediction before the show. Watching this back now with 20 odd years later, when you know the result, you kind of see, it's happening, what's going to be coming. But I think it would have been fresh, shocking, exciting at the time period. I'm going to say that this is not the best battle royal in Survivor Series history. Damn it, I am going to be honest and say that the Survivor Series 2021, where Pizza Hut was involved, best battle royal in Survivor Series history. I don't care what anybody says. I wanted pizza and I was in the crowd. But yeah, enough of that. What was your star rating for this match?
Dud. Didn't give it one, mate. I thought it was garbage and pointless.
See, I'm sure the Survivor Series 2021 got higher than the Dud.
What does Test do for the next 12 months? Probably nothing of any significance.
He joins the Un-Americans as a tag team champion and takes on The Undertaker at SummerSlam in 2002, albeit it's probably the worst match on the show, and he loses to Taker quite convincingly.
There you go. So what will it does nothing. Essentially, was the answer. It does nothing.
Yeah. 1.5 star. Yeah.
Wow.
1.5 star.
Fair.
Dave Meltzer gave this
next
a
match.
1.
Yeah. Next match. Just move on. Let's just get it done with. We've talked way too long about this match for anyone to actually care about it.
Absolutely.
That's
sample plays in
the next one.
We'll get there in a second. Just quickly have a couple of questions for us. Did you like Right to Censor?
I didn't mind them. I think I think it could have worked better if they'd have made more sense than what they were trying to portray on TV. But yeah, you love the music. I know you love the music, really, Steve.
I hated it. I still think the music is one of the worst of all time. Look, it fits for the characters. I hated Right to Censor at the time. I have more respect for the act now. I appreciate it a lot more older than what I did when I was younger. Did Sarah Calloway wrestle in WWF? I don't believe she did. I don't want to say a definite hard no, but I'm 99.9% confident she never wrestled in. Obviously, she was in ring for some of the angle that took place with DDP. Wouldn't have surprised me they've thrown her into something, but I don't believe she wrestled. Maybe that's a quick Google search for Nick, Steve.
I'm literally just doing it now, mate. Try and find out for you. And by looks of it, no. She was essentially just in it for that Stalker storyline. Well, saying that, she did make a few more appearances in 2002, so maybe, but without going to like Pro Fight DB, I wouldn't know.
There you are. This one is going to be an interesting question from Dave. Do you respect Vince McMahon for what he did for WWE?
Yes, for what he did for WWE, absolutely. Because if it wasn't for Vince McMahon, I would not have started watching professional wrestling, and I still wouldn't be watching it some 30 odd years later, 30 plus years later, whatever long it's been now. So for that, I am grateful for him as a human being. Couldn't give a rat's ass.
Summed up perfectly. The sentence there for what he did for WWE. So I can agree with that. I'm a WWE fan. I have been for most of my life. So yeah, for that, yes. For everything else, no.
Couldn't give a monkeys.
Absolutely. Bleach fan 2.0. Love this. Are you where you sound like what culture almost? I mean, we are British.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably the closest thing to a reason why we sound like what culture.
We take it as a compliment, though.
What culture in Northern? I'm pretty sure they're from like Newcastle, so we're missing the Geordie accent for most parts.
Don't get me started. I probably will butcher that, but we'll have a lot of fun if I tried it. Temple says someone once played Right to Censor theme for my boss because he was a wrestling fan and he hated them. He probably was right to. I hated them as well back then. Yeah, and yeah, Cindy says they were doing the job as well.
I have shocking news for you. Sarah Calloway did have one solitary match in WWE, and she beat DDP on a Monday Night Raw.
The People's Champion of WCW.
August 20th, 2001. So this was prior to this actual pay-per-view. Yep, Sarah beat DDP in one match on a Monday Night Raw.
Are you sure it wasn't Positively Canyon dressed up as DDP?
Like I said, he could have had the mask on. It might not have been DDP, so there's a very good chance. I don't know without looking at it.
It's probably DDP. Vince was quite clear that he was. Well, there you are, Dave. I was 99.9% sure she didn't, The 0.01% was correct. There you go. I would have definitely got that wrong. Yeah, anyway, we'll move on in the meantime, and it leads us nicely to what we have backstage. Yes, Shane and Booker T. Booker T doesn't trust Austin. Shane understands, but everything's on the line tonight. Shane says you have to trust Shane McMahon because Austin is our leader, and he believes he'll be the one to bring the alliance the victory. But it leads us next then nicely to a six-pack challenge that we have to determine the next WWE Women's Champion, obviously from WWE side, with Trish Stratus, Jacqueline, and Lita. On the Alliance side, we have Mighty Molly, who worked for WWE for ages, Ivory, who worked for WWE for ages, and in debuting Jazz, who'd been in ECW. Now, I should state very quickly, by the way, Mighty Molly had been in WCW in 1999 before coming to WWE as Mona, believe it or not. She was one of Macho Man's ladies in the 1990 spell, and she would have matches on Thunder, usually. You can tell I've watched all WCW now, can't you? But yeah, this was a six-pack challenge here for this. I really like the start of this match because Jazz looks like a badass from the second she comes through the curtain, comes immediately and Boss Man slams Lita. They've got good chemistry from the off in the ring, which is pretty cool to see. There's a fun moment as well where the match completely breaks down because there's tags going on in a six-pack challenge, but they all come into the ring, start hitting each other's finishes on each other. That looked pretty cool. But ultimately, Jazz sort of falls through the ropes. It looks like she gets caught on the rope as she goes to the outside, but she takes out a couple of ladies on the outside, leaving Trish and Ivory in the ring. Trish hits her Stratus faction to pick up the victory and win her women's championship. This will be a familiar sight for months and years to come. Trish Stratus has looked improved at this point in the ring for some of the retros we've seen in the past at this point. So yeah, pretty cool to see.
Dud. This absolutely sucked. You sat there and said Jazz looked phenomenal on the way to the ring. How do you F up diving through the ropes? Because for some reason, she was meant to go through it, got confused and thought she was meant to go over it, and we ended up with that hodgepodge of an accident at the end of it. I did not care for this. This is the reason why people hated women's wrestling back in 2001. I did not care for this.
I'm not that step down on it. I've given matches lower than 2 stars on this, and I'm going to give this a bang-on 2-star rating. It's not the best. Obviously, women's wrestling has evolved massively since then, but I didn't think this was bad. I thought that was one off moment.
Wait. Hang on. You're giving this a higher rating than Al Snow and Christian.
Yes.
Let me just get that straight. Okay.
Al Snow spent about the best part of 4 minutes headbutting Christian. There was no creativity or variation of offense at all. At least the ladies hit each other's finishing moves in a quick, fast-paced moment where you thought, who's going to get the pinfall here? I was much more invested in this match of the two.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, sorry, I was just clarifying though that you were giving this a higher rating than Al Snow and Christian. Christian, one of the best tag team wrestlers of all time, and Al Snow, who is genuinely a really good wrestler. But okay, hey, your match rating, man.
Hey, I'm sticking to it. I'd love to know who's if anyone's actually watched the show. It's in the comments with us. Thank you for being with us, by the way. Which match did you prefer? I'd like to know. I'm interested. That could be a little cliffhanger. But yeah, anyway, let's go to Dave Meltzer's rating and looking at it. Funnily enough, he's on smack bang in the middle. 1-star rating for this one in a match that lasted less than 5 minutes.
Dave wins that one.
There you are.
Come to think of it now. So wait. Let's think about this again. What did he give Al Snow and Christian as a match rating? Like it was like 2 3/4 or something.
Yeah. And I don't know what he was smoking, to be fair, watching that, because I found it a bit of a bore.
What is the context for his match ratings that he gives that a 2 3/4 and this a 1? And you're sitting there going that it's like I said it's a complete dud, and then you're saying it's like better than the only match. Man, what is reviewing nowadays like? Because it's just apparently it's just so weird how we sit there and judge what we match on.
I guess it comes down to we all have different opinions, and I guess
exactly, yeah.
People that are willing to listen to us will either agree or disagree as well. But the fact that they give the time to listen to what we're just saying, always appreciate that.
I love that. I love the fact that in one show we've got such conflicting views about 2 guys who like wrestled a match that was like them genuinely trying to put a match on against 6 women who just hit their finishers and ended the match.
Hey, Mighty Molly hit that Molly go round, and she did pretty darn well, man. I'm going to give her some credit, but that's better than the Al Snow headbutt I had to watch for about 4 solid minutes.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I suppose though, Al always wants head, doesn't he? So I suppose that's why he's there, but a lot. Never mind. Yeah. Speaking of which, Temple says I'm pretty sure, and I'm guessing it would have been Paul Heyman that would have said this. It was Jim Ross and Paul Heyman on commentary. But yeah, Al Snow is giving Christian head, and Jim Ross was like, "What? That sounds very 2001."
Yep, 100%.
Absolutely. The light heavyweight and cruiserweight unification match was on Invasion, and X-Pac, I believe, won that against Billy Kidman. I want to say.
Yeah, I believe he did. Yeah, I remember because I wanted Kidman to win, and I think X-Pac wins. Yeah.
That's a wrong call. Race in the house, thank you for joining us. He said, I started watching when Jack Tunney was president. Me too. Tunney. Brilliant. Great times. That's when you know you had a great childhood, because if Jack Tunney turned up, shit was going to get sorted out. Yeah, it meant something when he turned up. Ivory was a good women's wrestler. Do you agree? And Steve, this could be an interesting answer.
For the generation, yes. Not the best, but was okay. Like Trish and Lita were ultimately the best two women's wrestlers for that period, but she was an okay wrestler.
I thought you were going to butcher Ivory for some of the matches she had with the likes of Fabulous Moolah, and you've not always been a fan of what we've seen Ivory matches on these reviews.
Look, I don't expect anyone to have a good wrestling match with a 70-year-old woman, so I can't really blame Ivory for that, but it is what it is, unfortunately.
It is what it is, yeah. I would say she's a good women's wrestler, yes. Obviously, we've evolved and the game has changed, but Ivory was in the Women's Royal Rumble a couple of years ago, and I'm not going to lie, I popped when I saw her come through the curtain. I thought that was a really fun comeback. So, yeah, good times. We will be moving on, though, to what I'm pretty sure the reason you are all here for, which, of course, is the main event of the show, which is the last hour of the show as well. It's Team WWE versus the Alliance, of course, of WCW and ECW 5-on-5 traditional Survivor Series elimination match, winner take all. And of course, for Team WWE, we've got The Rock, Chris Jericho, The Undertaker, Kane, and The Big Show. Vince had spoken, by the way, earlier in the night to that team, pretty much said that, if you lose this match, every WWE fan wouldn't forgive you. You'll be disgraced and ridiculed by your own peers and family members. You're fighting for survival, and they're fighting against the Team Alliance of Stone Cold Steve Austin, Kurt Angle, Shane McMahon, Booker T, and Rob Van Dam. So, video package for this one. Vince offers winner-take-all match then for Survivor Series. Who stays in business? We see Kurt Angle defect from WWE to join the Alliance. Jericho and Rock are pretty much just falling apart. They've got their rivalry, so they can't coexist. Vince is saying that Austin is joining Team WWE, but he gets a stunner for his troubles. Shane says that Vince is trying to tear the Alliance down from within, and Undertaker tells Team WWE to get on the same page when they couldn't. And then we just pretty much see all the team members and then basically fighting. Thoughts of the video package?
I mean, yeah, again, I probably would have appreciated it more in 2001, being a bit sort of less clued up than what I am now. Otherwise, yeah, again, this is what you were watching the show for, was this one match. The last 2 hours you really didn't have to watch. Do you know, ironically today, like we're doing this live now, WWE have actually put this match up today on the Vault channel. It's gone up, I think, about 9 hours ago. They actually put this match up, so you can go and watch it now on the WWE Vault channel. So coincidence, I don't know, but yeah, look, video package is what it is. I don't think it's better than anything they personally did for the Invasion angle. Again, you've got 8 wrestlers that technically work for the same company the whole time. So I don't know. I maybe would have expected more and really emphasize the point of the like WWE possibly going out of business, kind of like the opening package. But I don't know. Maybe it could have been better. I guess I'm playing sort of devil's advocate here with this one.
Potentially, yeah, but I understand it. I mean, for me, I thought this was good, but I mean, when you look to the opening video package of the entire show, I'm much more into that of the two. So I like the idea that the history could be no more. And I think that would have been a really unique twist of just seeing like those moments again, and then just sort of seeing, I don't know, like the tape roll just start flickering or playing up and then just break through. And then we see the Alliance like, this is your future. This is what you're going to see. Forget all of that. We're taking over kind of thing.
What you really would have wanted is, like, their whole then now forever thing. You would have wanted something like that, then now, and then like a potential forever where it shows WCW and ECW as like what could possibly be becoming.
Yeah, sounds true indeed. But that's where the criticism ends from me, because this 5-on-5 elimination match was freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Right, I've got a lot of notes here. I'm not going to lie, but
Whiz
I'm
from
going
them.
to try
Whiz
and
from
come
them.
to you
We'll talk
through
about it after.
parts. Sorry.
I was going to say whiz from them, and we'll talk about it after.
All right then, let's do
We'll
that
do
then.
that.
For those that don't know, then, so pretty much to kick the match off, The Rock and Steve Austin kick things off. Talk about how making this feel important and the aura of these two. This is your WrestleMania X7 main event, arguably the greatest WrestleMania of all time, and those two, the biggest stars, going head to head, kick this match off. That's something to make this feel incredibly special. Dream match
And
combos
they're
are
both
thrown as well.
champions.
Sorry.
And they're both world champions as well, because Rock is WCW champion at the time as well.
Absolutely, indeed. Yeah, so true. Very well point made there. Of course, you've got dream match combos being thrown at us as well. The likes of Jericho and RVD. The crowd really popped for the idea that them interacting, which was really cool to see. Something I really liked early in the match as well, Shane McMahon breaking up multiple pin attempts, particularly Undertaker pinfalls as well. So the Undertaker goes to pretty much grab Shane afterwards, but Shane is so quick running back into the corner, hiding behind the Alliance. Just thought that was really, really fun and really effective in the way they were doing it as well. The Big Show pretty much suffers an angle slam from Kurt Angle. Booker T's scissor kick that he does. Then the fast style frog splash, followed by a Shane McMahon elbow from the top rope. And yes, no surprise, after 4 finishes, we get our first pinfall. Shane pinging the Big Show. It's 5-4 in favor of the Alliance. Shane will be quickly eliminated afterwards, taking a chokeslam from Kane, then a tombstone from The Undertaker, and Jericho hitting the line saw. Of course, now it goes to 4-4. Things break down and everyone's brawling outside the ring with RVD and Kane left in the ring. I say in the ring, RVD's on the top rope. He hits a kick from the top of the rope as well, one of sort of like an arrow almost going straight into Kane. 4-3 to the Alliance. Kane is eliminated. Taker hits his last ride on Kurt Angle, but then eats a Stone Cold Stunner, and Taker's taken out for that way. Stone Cold puts Angle on top of The Undertaker. We go 4-2 in favor of the Alliance. The Rock whips Booker T into Kurt Angle on the apron and then gets a roll up. Booker T is eliminated. We know now it's 3-2. The deficit is reduced. Jericho then pins RVD with a skull crushing finale. I'm sure Jericho had his own name at the time, but hey, this is 25 years later. Hit the Miz's finisher. It's 2-2. The Rock then puts the sharpshooter on Kurt Angle, and instantly the Olympic gold medalist taps, to literally the dismay of Paul Heyman on commentary as well. Love that moment. It's a real key ingredient from when we get to the end of the show. Austin counters a roll-up from Chris Jericho to make another roll-up of his own. Gets the pinfall as well. We're down to 1 versus 1. It is Rock versus Austin. But before we can really get to that, Jericho double crosses the Rock. Skull crushing finale to the Great One. Austin goes for the pin, but the Rock kicks out 2. Taker comes out to yell at Jericho, and as they go towards the back, we see fighting over announcers' tables. We see submission holds being done, wherever it's going to get to the rope. And then the Rock hits Stone Cold's stunner on Austin. As Hebner goes for the count, the WCW official, Nick Patrick, comes out and pulls Earl Hebner to the floor. The Alliance then ref distracts the Rock, which means he gets hit by the Rock bottom from Stone Cold Steve Austin. Rock kicks out at 2. The crowd go wild. Austin hits Nick Patrick and wants Earl Hebner, fun enough, the WWE official, back in the match. There's been a tease of a mole throughout the show. Why does Austin want Hebner back in the ring? Well, just as he brings him back in and trying to bring him back up, Kurt Angle comes back down to ringside and has the WWE Championship. He hits Austin with the title. Austin goes into the Rock. Rock hits the Rock bottom, and Earl Hebner counts the 3. WWE wins. Vince celebrates on the ramp, and Kurt Angle is your mole. That is the end of Survivor Series, and that is a 45-minute belter from start to finish. There is probably about a 5-minute lull in this match when it gets to 2-2 with a couple of rest holds. Outside of that, it is all killer and no filler.
Yeah, I think Undertaker doing mat-based wrestling at one point was the kind of a bit of a shocker for me. It was one of the notes that I took down. I'm going to play devil's advocates for some of the parts of this. Like, for instance, the Big Show being the first elimination. Why do you try and portray this guy as a 7-foot giant and yet have him as the first elimination? Again, it's the story of Big Show's career, unfortunately, which I just don't get why they keep doing it. the Nick Patrick count, I think, would have been more impactful if he'd have tried a fast count and The Rock would have kicked out.
Agreed.
I would have much preferred that, because you still could have done the whole Austin thing, but it would have made more of an emphasis of the Alliance trying to cheat to win. And then the other thing was, I think the teams should have been the other way around. I think Kurt Angle should have been on the WWF team and Jericho should have been on the Alliance team. I think if you swap them two around, because essentially that's a babyface turn for Kurt Angle. And I don't ever remember Kurt being the greatest of baby faces, whereas Jericho was kind of a real big fan favorite. Plus, he had more of a lineage and a history with WCW. I just think that if you were going to do that sort of babyface turn, Jericho would have been the one to benefit from it more doing this. But otherwise, dude, look, it's probably one of the best Survivor Series matches because you have so much on the line. You have the story. Yes, there is obviously the caliber of people that are in it, the match, because how many times have we seen a Survivor Series match before where you don't get 10 essential headline stars in that match, and to have 10 main eventers is a big deal. Yeah, the teams were a bit like, if you go back to the actual Invasion pay-per-view when you had the Dudleys, Booker T, and I forget who else was supposed to be on the other side.
DDP,
Booker T. DDP. Yeah, more of an Invasion side team, whereas we get to this, and like I said, 8 of them are WWE stars. I did question why Shane was in the match to start with. Shane, spoiler, MVP of the night for me. I think his role in this was perfect. The way he got in, broke up counts, and then ratted out and just skirted out the ring was great. And the fact that the way he ultimately gets pinned because he's sitting there boasting and he just gets a gnarly tombstone for it, I thought he was phenomenal. I thought my questions were justified merely 10 minutes later into this match. I think this is fantastic. This is one of the best Survivor Series matches ever.
I'm going to agree with that.
In terms of a 5-on-5 elimination style match.
A 5-on-5 elimination Survivor Series style match. This has got to be in the conversation of one of the best of all time. I think that if you look, for example, many people go with Team Austin versus Team Bischoff from 2003. I personally love Team Cena versus The Authority 2014. And of course, look, when you get your Survivor Series Raw versus SmackDown stuff, 2016 felt very special. The first year they did it with the men's Survivor Series match as well, with the likes of AJ Styles, Bray Wyatt being involved in it as well. So there were some really good ones over the years.
Don't forget 2019.
5-on-5-on-5. Yeah, of course, that was freaking amazing as well. I'm not going to forget that one for you. But look, this had all the bells and whistles. It was fantastic. I agree with your points of, Kurt Angle, it feels like a face turn. I mean, he's helping Vince, and Vince goes back to being, Vince as a character or Mr. McMahon after this. So I think he does still play in the heel role, and he ends up being like Vince's lapdog. And, when he get the draft in 2002, he's like the second pick for SmackDown, which then loses another big pick. I think it's the NWO was picked for Raw, which, really annoys Vince McMahon at the time because he could have actually waited on Kurt Angle for a bit longer. But yeah, I mean, I agree with when you said, and this is what I felt at the start of the video, Jericho has history in WCW. He would have made sense of being someone that would have been on the WCW side. So I agree with you there. But I also think the Big Show would have made sense being on that team as well, because Big Show is someone he's flitted backwards and forwards. He's had Shane McMahon in his corner previously. He's a Paul Heyman guy a year later at Survivor Series 2002. So there is many different elements that you could have seen the Big Show work. But to answer your Big Show thing, he's just, unfortunately, the 5th biggest star on a 5-man team, so he has to be the first one to go. Had Kane gone first, or The Undertaker gone first, hell, even Jericho, imagine The Rock, just no. Big Show was, and of all the people in the match, in my opinion, and I agree with you, because looking at the dude, he should be one of the last people standing, but he was totally right to be the first one to go, in my view.
It gave me very, what was the Survivor Series where Walter was the first elimination?
To 2019, the 5-on-5-on-5.
It was the same sort of feeling I had watching it. Like, this guy is an absolute monster, an absolute unit, and yet he's the first eliminated. I would have taken Kane being eliminated first because Kane and Taker are essentially the same person. Like their wrestling styles are the same. They're big guys. They do the whole sit up things. You know what I mean? They do choke slams. They do tombstones. Taker is just the bigger star. I would have genuinely just would have swapped them two round. It would have made a little bit more sense for me.
That's fair. That's fair. For me, I feel I'm happy with the order of people going, but
Yeah.
I totally get your point of view of that one. I like the fact as well they played not just a simple like 4-on-4, 3-on-3, 2-on-2. They did put some drama in it where the alliance was 4-2 up at one point, so it really gives you that sort of you go on a bit of a journey with thinking, well, actually, hang on now, because the numbers are not falling in WWE's favor now. All of a sudden, it looks a bit more realistic that actually the alliance could win. So I like that feel about it as well. Yeah, Shane McMahon, I agree with you. MVP vibes with the way he was with breaking up those counts, those pinfalls. A couple of the eliminations were a bit naff in the middle, but apart from that, I mean, there's just so much to like. And I think with the exception of the what you said, the Nick Patrick count, if that had been there, I think I would have given this a 5-star. But for the reason that he did a normal count, which maybe that's the reason Austin wanted to hit him, I don't know, but I'm going to give this a 4.75. I think that this is just, it's as close. I don't say close to perfect, but it's so darn good. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
I think just to give it anything less from me, I think is just a crime. And the reason it's not got the full 5, I'm just nitpicking.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say a 4.5 because there is the one thing I did forget as well was the Jericho elimination where he hits the skull crushing finale and picks up the pinfall, and I'm like, there's no reaction from the crowd because they just don't expect it at all. And I think that's kind of underwhelming for it to be an elimination and you get no crowd reaction. It's a bit meh. I mean, by all means, we have to find an RVD Jericho match to watch because those two were phenomenal. Their ring chemistry was great. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, why have I never seen these two? There obviously is. There's a good 50 odd matches that they've had in singles competitions, but there's one I'm like, right, well, we need to find the match now. But yeah, like I said, I think that one elimination, the pecking order, I say Big Show going first, I could have easily swapped with Kane. The Nick Patrick count, otherwise, the angle the angle plot twist was great. Because I remember being genuinely shocked as well in 2001 watching this, where you're like, oh, it's Austin. It's Austin. He's been saying it's Austin, not realizing reverse psychology is a thing. And yeah, the whole thing of him doing it, and then obviously you had Jericho almost doing the same thing as well with his turn, and just phenomenal. But like I said, I gave it a 4.5 just for, again, nitpicking really more than anything.
I understand that entirely. And the thing is with Kurt Angle, and that's what I love about this match, because there are elements in it where it's like, Austin, you feel yourself, is he team WWE? They play on that throughout the night for the narrative.
Yeah.
But Kurt is the one that, like, he gets the pinfall over the Undertaker because Austin puts him on top. Otherwise, he doesn't pin anyone. He's wrestling people, but he's undercover and he's not effectively eliminating people. He is only the reason Booker T gets eliminated is because he's thrown into him. But maybe that's part of the gist. Maybe that was something that was worked out. And I don't know the storyline narrative afterwards. And as well, when he's put in the sharpshooter, he taps out immediately. But it's not a Kurt Angle thing to do for him to just tap out. So it's just those little ingredients there sprinkled around. So when you get that moment in the last 60 seconds of the show, it really hits well and it really hits home.
Yeah, the psychology there, like I'm forgetting the little details like that. Like you said, the that one where you said he didn't pin anyone aside from Austin dragging on it, and I'm like, that's actually like a really clever detail that I hadn't actually thought about in terms of the plot twist, and it makes a hell of a lot of sense.
Absolutely, indeed. Let's get Dave Meltzer's rating, shall we, for this match? And I think NXT is going to be happy with this one. 44 minutes, 56 seconds, and Dave Meltzer's given this one 4.5-star rating.
The dude, again, deserves it. It's genuinely one of the best Survivor Series styles matches.
Absolutely, indeed. Let's do our quick run through, and we've got a number of comments that's come through, so we're going to answer all of those before we go off today. But before we do that, let's kick in with what we do as our little usual quick rundown as we're reviewing the show in like 2 minutes. OMG moment of the night.
I mean, I suppose it's got to be the Kurt Angle attacking Austin with the title.
Yeah, it should be. It should be. You're right. I'm going to go slightly different.
does it all the Hardy bump to no one off the top of the cage.
Yeah, oh Jesus! Actually, that's going to take it. I was going to go test with the immunity battle royal because of that would have been a shock at the time as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jeff Hardy jumping off the top of a cage, and the pool was empty. Match of the night. Main event, easily one of the best Survivor Series elimination matches of all time. Entrance of the night, I'm buzzing for this one.
Oh my God. I mean, look, I could easily say the invasion and the alliance team for the Battle Royal, because they had Bodies by Drowning Pool for some reason on this. I don't know whether it was dubbed over, which I thought was quality, but because it's a cop-out answer, I'm going to say Edge, just because I really like that old version of Edge's music.
That's fair. Undertaker with the cycle and Limp Bizkit rolling. Look, I'm limping with the biscuit. I love Chocolate Starfish and Hot Dog Flavor Water. One of my favorite albums. Rolling at the time was just, and it fits Undertaker so well in that era. It was so much better than the American Badass in my personal opinion. So, yeah, just to get that and get the vibe with it as well, and just hear the crowd popping around with it. I don't know. I got a bit of I got the feels. So, yeah, definitely that one's got interest in the night for me. MVP. I wonder if this could be.
Yeah, I mean, look, genuinely, Shane justified him being in that match. He played his role down to a T, delivered everything. I wasn't expecting him to do that. I was just expecting him to just do Shane moments, like a coast to coast and an elbow drop or something, but far beyond exceeded what I was expecting him to do. Shane McMahon was my MVP of the night.
Fair on that one. Look, someone will accuse me of being his guy, and this is maybe a bit of bias in that, but Paul Heyman. Commentary, exceptional. Always brings the best. Those two, him and JR, have good chemistry when they're on there. But you could tell Heyman was digging in, riling Jim Ross up. It's the second show we've reviewed in a row where Ross feels like he's literally getting irate on commentary. But yeah, I mean, Heyman's he's very clever with things as well. And there was a moment as well where it's like someone running away like a woman, and then literally Heyman was like, how can you say that? That's so sexist. And, just literally bigging up women's rights and stuff. And I was just like, you can just tell, like, in the way he does it is very clever for that time period. But the fact he's saying these things, which is actually right as well. And I really dug that moment on the show as well. Just making JR look a bit of a knob.
He was like an annoying small child for the whole show for JR. Like he just making subtle digs, and you kind of like, you can't say anything because JR's this wholesome good guy, this good play-by-play commentator, and Paul Heyman's just a spoilt brat, just like trying to get away with honest to God blue murder.
And he succeeded quite a few occasions. It was a good battle to see throughout the show. Kept some of the less fun matches were more fun because of those two on commentary. Final rating out of 10, Survivor Series 2001.
I mean, what we're looking at, 6-7 matches, 3 of them worth watching. 1 of them is fantastic. I'm going to be generous. I'm going to say a 7 out of 10 for me.
I'm going to go 7.5. Some may say it's generous as well. Look, if you whack the first 2 matches of the show, skip the first 25 minutes of the show, and then watch it from there, I think you're in for a fun ride. And yeah, if you're watching for the last hour, and let's be fair, this show is 2.5 hours long, and the whole main event is dedicated to an hour, so nearly 50% of the show is bloody brilliant.
Very rare as well for that time.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm going to go for a 7.5 quite easily for this one for me. Let's dive into the comments and let's get everyone's final thoughts before we wrap things up today. And a little bit of 2001 nostalgia for us here. Ray says, look, I remember buying this on Sky Box Office. I would have done the same then. I couldn't remember it was Sky Box Office, but probably it was. Temple has this on videotape, VHS.
I was going to say, I remember when they used to release the DVD, and it used to be the double box set or the double DVD box set. And I think Invasion is literally a double box set for that year.
Oh, wow. That's quite an interesting combo that you got there.
Many years ago. You can't buy them anymore now.
No, you can't indeed. We never get 5-on-5 elimination matches anymore, which I liked back in the day. Should they do one and just one Gore War Games? False. Absolutely, yes. I think that we may be getting that from next year. I think they are testing the waters this Friday on SmackDown. And I've got to say, if there's one thing I love about, they've got the 5-on-5, the upcoming Friday on SmackDown. So it's Sami Zayn, Rey Fenix, the Motor City Machine Guns, and Shinsuke Nakamura versus the MFTs. And if you look at the match graphic, It's the old school Survivor Series logo, the very original one, very Thanksgiving-y. The match graphic as well. It's just beautiful. I'm sorry, but if you're a wrestling fan as old as me, which I don't care to admit, but at the same time, just freaking love this. And I genuinely think if it's a success on Friday, they did one as well in NXT, or two of them in NXT for that match that they did, which was pretty much meant to be Invasion, but in the end was, what was it called in the end? Was it like what, I can't remember what they called it in the end.
What are you talking about? The NXT invasion of the main roster, or the TNA invasion of NXT?
It's TNA Invasion, TNA versus NXT. They called it Invasion and they changed it to someone else.
Oh yeah, like because I can't even remember now.
No,
They milked it to death as well. I've just blanked it from my head.
Doesn't matter, but they've done two traditional Survivor Series matches there, 4-on-4. They're doing one on SmackDown here. I think they're testing the waters. I think it's going to be coming back. I really, really do. And I think if it was me booking a Survivor Series, a 5-on-5 traditional Survivor Series match should kick off the show. War Games should main event the show. And if you really want to have a bit of fun, put an Iron Survivor Challenge in the middle there, because that's going to be the future of Survivor Series as well.
Yeah, I just think ultimately it needs a stipulation, the 5-on-5. Unless there's something to get from it, it's just essentially an elimination tag team match. So for me, if they're going to do it every year, we need a stipulation around it.
I mean, if it's Raw versus SmackDown, it should always be number 30 of the Rumble. But at the same time, I like 30 of the Rumble being a mystery and surprise. It's not so fun, but I suppose it's for the brand only. It doesn't have to be the superstar. Then, okay, it's a Raw superstar or it's a SmackDown superstar, and then you can take it from there. And then if someone returns as a big shock or whatever, you know that they're going to be on Raw or SmackDown when it comes to the following week.
If they, like I was going to say, if they could, you could almost do it as like a Money in the Bank kind of thing. Like the winner, even if we've obviously, I'm hypothetical here, but even if it was a case of you got down to like last three people on one team, and you turn it into your idea where you turn it into a triple threat, the last three then fight it out with each other, winner gets a title shot, or like a Money in the Bank briefcase kind of thing.
Will be interesting. I'm not against it. It's creative. It's something different. I always love the idea of King of the Ring being working for Survivor Series as well, just because of the fact it's a Survivor element. I do think the John Cena last time was now tournament should have concluded at Survivor Series. It's just because it makes sense to, but the way they structured the matches, it's going to continue on TV for a bit longer, I think, past Survivor Series. But hey, it's what it is. CD wants the traditional Survivor Series match back at Survivor Series. So do we. So do we. Ray says, who was best, Stone Cold or The Rock? Who was you more of a fan of? Who was more of a Stone Cold guy?
Stone Cold indeed.
I mean, for me, I would have probably preferred The Rock probably at the time, but I was always, if you knew those two were having a match, I always thought Austin was going to win just because Austin was number one and Rock was always number two. It's just there's no wrong answer. There was no wrong answer.
Yeah, it's a case of you would watch Rock because he was highly entertaining as a character in terms of promos and stuff. Had a really good in-ring set, but you knew with Austin, especially for that time period, more than likely he's probably going to get busted open. It's going to get violent. Him in that generation is just perfect.
Yeah, they really were hand in hand at that point for each other and for that era as well. CD says WWE books monsters terribly. Big Show, Braun Strowman should have been bigger than what they were. Can't disagree. Sorry,
that's a great Carly.
He did win the one title, so I more times than he should have, in my personal opinion. But there you go.
So did Kane and Braun Strowman, but so yeah, technically he fits in that niche.
There was a niche there. Ted says, what if the Alliance won? What would WWE be like today? Would it be the same? As I said, we did this sort of at the start of the video, so I'll just slightly recap it. I know Temple wasn't with us at the time, but I think it would have been very daring had the Alliance had won this. It would have been a creative shift, and like everyone kind of expected going in, well, it's WWE, so WWE's going to win this. So had they really pulled a twist and change things and have an Alliance win, what if we'd got Nitro replacing Raw for a few weeks? SmackDown being replaced by Thunder, and at the start of 2002 the NWO were brought in anyway, so they could start bringing these guys in, like you get your Rey Mysterios, your Big Papa Pumps. It could have been really interesting just to see then how Vince could have found a way to try and find his way back in, and how WWE would try and grapple and wrestle it back. Would it have been a case that then eventually would have had Raw for WWE on a Monday and Nitro on a Friday for SmackDown, instead of having the draft that we inevitably had play out because the rosters were too big, and they learnt that sort of 4 to 6 months later? It could have been a really fun twist, and I do think that this rivalry between WWE, WCW, and ECW as a branding could have gone on for years had it been booked correctly. Had they bought people out of their contracts like Goldberg, Hogan, Nash, Hall, Sting, Rey Mysterio, hey, Eddie Guerrero wasn't around at this point. He came after WrestleMania 18, I think the night after, they would feud with RVD. So there's plenty of names that were missing around this time period, and I think just would have made this a bit better.
You know what else you could have done as well, just now thinking about it, is you could have done a re-invasion. So, for instance, if the Alliance had one, you could have had broke-ass Vince and, like, Vince trying to get back on top, and ultimately would have ended in, like, Invasion 2, essentially. Like, how we have World War One, World War Two. You'd have had Invasion and Invasion 2, and you could have just flipped it and gone back to it, and it would have been like almost, you could have done it as a culmination of like a 3 or 4 year story. Like you said, when you bring in NWO, you bring in Goldberg, you bring in possibly Sting if they'd have ever have done it. And yeah, you could have ultimately just flipped it back to being WWE like 3 years later.
And they could have really been creative with the shows as well. Like, imagine the next show after this was Vengeance. Of course, that's the night that Chris Jericho beat Rock and Austin the same night to become champion. But what if it had been called Starcade? Because that's the December show for WCW. It was literally there a month later. They could have done Starcade. They could have then, you mentioned there World War, like they could have brought in World War III, had the 3 rings. They could have experimented with that sort of stuff. They could have experimented with war games like 20 odd years ago had they wanted to. Look, don't do World War III. It's an absolute mess for anyone that's watched it. But still, there was so many creative elements you could have done. Like you say, Vince going double or nothing with this. I mean, it could have been a case of like Royal Rumble. Let's try and get, a few of my people in there so we can try and get a fight back and get a claw hold. And the WWE guy comes in, surprise entrant, wins the Rumble, takes it to WrestleMania, and they could have culminated at Mania or something. I don't know. There's lots of ways they could have made this continue and drag out and be a lot of fun. But ultimately, I think with the invasion angle for rose-tinted glasses, if you were young and you enjoyed it, you can go back and sort of get those feels. But I mean, if you look from an outsider's point of view, yes, this would have been so much better had the big names all been under one roof and playing by those rules at that time period. But sadly, it wasn't quite like that. And as Steve said earlier in the video, when you look at the Survivor Series matches at the end of the show, that main event there, 8 of them are WWE guys. There's one WCW, there's one ECW. It's just basically Vince just splitting the roster because he has to.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair play. Let's move on. Temples also says this is a team I think he's picked here as well. Booker T, Dudley Boyz, DDP, and Rhino. Rhino was a fun shout. Yeah. Defeated Jericho, Kane, Kurt, Austin, and The Undertaker. So there you are. That is the teams that were there for Invasion. Rhino must have been injured at that point. Must have been injured. Plus, Triple H and Benoit were injured at that point, weren't involved in this at all either. I wonder if they would have had an impact back in the day when it comes to Invasion. I think Benoit would have been WCW, just would have had that vibe. CD says, I'm still salty we didn't get Brock Lesnar versus The Fiend versus Adam Cole at Survivor Series 2019.
I'm not. It was the one match I was genuinely worried about because I was like, Adam Cole is going to get murdered in a ring with those two. And I think we got a much better match between him and Pete Dunne.
Yeah, to be fair, I do actually love the match with him, Pete Dunne. I think that Survivor Series 2019 is pretty awesome, but yeah, still would have been a fun match. Was Survivor Series 2001 the greatest Survivor Series of all time? Not for me. 2002, 1 year later, takes the trophy for me.
2019 for me because NXT wins.
Absolutely. And a little bit of a soft spot as well for 1998, the Deadly Games tournament. Vince Russo's finest masterpiece I think he ever created, and has probably lived off that legacy for many, many years afterwards.
Yeah.
Would you say this Survivor Series is on like a top 5 though? Top 10?
No.
It's got to be.
No. I think for significance, maybe. But I think in terms of an overall show, I'm pretty sure I could probably find 4 others that were better than this in terms of, like, there's a lot of modern ones like that are probably a lot better across the board. I think it's the one saving grace is that main event. So it probably is a top 10, but I wouldn't say a top 5 for me.
Probably fair on top 10 there. Temple also loves 2002. Mentioned there the SmackDown 6, of course. Charvanetti, Ray, and Edge. Angle Benoit for the tag titles. First of Elimination Chamber match as well. Yeah, there's some great stuff. And Big Show and Paul Heyman line turning on Brock Lesnar. There's some good stuff on that show. Really, really good stuff. Bob asks, would you put Kane in the Hall of Fame for his wrestling career? Yes. For his politics? No.
Yes, same. Agreed.
I don't really know his politics stuff too well, but I know he said quite some. His X game needs evaluating. I'm not a fan of the X game. Bob says, is Jericho returned to WWE when his AEW contract is up? I think that's a solid yes.
Yeah, I think he should go in the Hall of Fame. If anything.
He will be one of these ones doing a retirement tour. I think that's going to be good. Cena started something. I think that's going to be the thing moving forward, people's retirement tours.
Yeah. It's just, look, I'm not against it. It's just they've got to book them better. That's the main problem. And I mean, look, Cena's hasn't been great. They've got an opportunity next year with AJ Styles to do some really special stuff. So hopefully they can deliver.
I just feel Cena's weren't booked well. AJ, I don't have high hopes. I have more hope for Jericho, to be fair. RVD Jericho IC title match on Raw they have is on the Vault channel. Nice.
Yeah, I was going to say, because, yeah, it's not on the Netflix. So, yeah, that would be the one to look for. Yeah, because I saw it listed. So that would probably be the one.
There's an absolute banger as well. I think it's 2012 when RVD returns to WWE. I want to say it's around Money in the Bank time. And they just have like a 20-minute great match on Raw for whatever reason. There's no reason, but it just steals the show.
2012, you said. There's one from 2013 on a Monday Night Raw. That's probably the one, because the one before that is 2009.
It's probably the one that's 2013 I'm thinking of. Who's better for you, Chris Jericho or RVD?
In ring, RVD. Character, Jericho.
I'm going to have to agree on those, but RVD is my favorite of all time, so I'm biased. Yeah, RVD. CD says JR and the King, best commentary team, while Booker T and Vic Joseph, worst commentary team. Sorry, Vic, I just strongly dislike Booker T on commentary. He's the worst.
Yeah, I know. I sour a bit on Jerry King, unfortunately. I'll quite happily take Michael Cole and Taz.
Yeah, I like that. Michael Cole and JBL was not too bad in the noughties. I think that JR and Paul Heyman are the greatest combo of all time. I just think that's my personal favorite. Worst, I mean, Mike Adamle was not good. Who was the guy? His name was Vink.
Pick any one of the Raw ones from pick any one of the Raw ones from the recent couple of years. What was the one where they had Mace on commentary, like a couple of years ago for some reason?
Yeah.
Randomly had this random NXT wrestler as commentator for Raw.
Yeah. So there's been some interesting choices over the years. Oh, and there was one as well. I don't remember his name. And Raw just started 1993. Dreadful. The guy is so bad that they have to get rid of him, and they do pre-records of like a month worth bundles at a time. And he was so bad. He was almost, and he doesn't know nothing about wrestling either. He just seemed to be a mate of Vince McMahon's that was hanging around around the not Madison Square Garden, but wherever it was filmed. The Manhattan Center, that's the one. Manhattan Center. Yeah, generally dreadful, but I can see NXT was looking him up right now. In the meantime, that's the one. Dreadful. That's the worst one for me. Ray says NXT TNA Showdown. That was the one. It was Showdown. Yeah, there we are. And it got changed to backlash from people. Absolutely. But it was something with the logo that kept it representative. Absolutely was indeed. Temple says 5-5 Survivor Series eliminate match, winning 5 going to a 5-way. Winner of that faces the world champion of the Royal Rumble. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be fair, that's it's pretty much what I've said previously in the past, isn't it? With the Ultimate Survivor, Soul Survivor match that I came on the channel with.
Yeah, if anything, you could really structure it around a case of like you could have a team of 5, a tag team, 2 mid-carders, and a main eventer. Every single one of them gets a title shot, I suppose. Do you know what I mean? There's some way of doing it. There's
always ways around it. CD wants to see King of the Ring conclude at Survivor Series. It could make sense. I don't know. It's better than Night of Champions for me. That's just my feeling. Ray says the 2001 roster better than 2025. Interesting.
I'm gonna begrudgingly say no. I think there is a more plethora. There's a more varied I just think across the board better in ring, and there is a lot more characters that get over more now than there is in 2001. 2001, you're very limited to, like you said here, the 10 biggest stars, and one of them's the Big Show, and it's not really the greatest, is it?
It's so tough to answer this question because it's all in what you
It's almost like
want
picking
to.
it's picking modern day or attitude era essentially.
Exactly. And I mean, if you were to look in ring, like you said, across the board, like when you go outside of the main event scene, particularly for 2001's roster, I said there's so many people missing at that point that coming in 2002. 2002, I'll rival it and say, yeah, that's better than 2025. But 2001, I'm going to lean just on 2025 because we have to sit through Al Snow and Christian. No, we wouldn't get that on 2025. But at the same time, some people have their ones that they don't like in 2025, and we've had that already in this video. So, yeah, it all depends on your flavor. Look, one thing I would say with both of those rosters, they're both very good. There are much worse rosters than both of them. So I don't think it's bad when you're comparing those two rosters. Heck, you can have Elimination Chamber be annual for Survivor Series. It's a survival element as well. Exactly. And the first one was there, as CD will go on to say in the next comment there. We really got loads of questions flying in. We'll do our best to get through a few more, but we're at the 1 hour 40 mark, and I've got to get up in the morning. It's late in my time zone. Who is the better wrestling promoter? Ray. Triple H or Tony Khan. This is going to cause some. This will split the room.
That's my answer. It's at the minute. It's neither here nor there with either of them. They're both doing really good stuff and really crap stuff. So at the minute, couldn't tell you.
Right. I will say, I mean, I've not watched Full Gear yet, so no spoilers, people in the comments. Facebook did enough of that for me on Sunday. But yeah, like, I think AEW is having a better creative year than WWE. So at this particular moment, if I had to pick one of who's having the better 2025, it's Tony Khan. If you go in retrospective of their careers, Tony Khan has been doing this since 2019. Triple H arguably has been doing this at least since 2012. And when you take in the black and gold era, the first couple of years of what Triple H has brought to the table on the main roster, it's not been a good year this year, but I'm still going to go for Triple H overall because AEW has had good times, but they had a dip for a couple of years and they had trouble getting out of that dip.
AEW were very fortunate to essentially begin at like a peak point in modern day wrestling, whereas like 2019, like New Japan has become this worldwide phenomenon now, where it was kind of like it was only a case with New Japan, it was like if you knew, you knew, or like you knew like a wrestler on WWE had been in New Japan essentially, and he took some of the best talent in the world, Kenny Omega, Young Bucks, whoever, put them in a promotion, and it succeeded off of their names, and essentially he's kind of piggybacked off their names throughout the last sort of 6 years, and those names have helped build AEW to what it is. Because I think if he'd have started a wrestling company without those names, he wouldn't. I don't think he'd be around today. Put it that way. But
no,
like you said, he's had a better year creatively, majority of it. But like I said, Triple H is having a bad year this year.
Yeah, he's having a bad year this year. There's no doubt about that. Dave says that his friend Barney says Tyler Bate is the greatest wrestler of all time. Barney, you're entitled to your opinion, but Dave, I'm going to disagree with your friend Barney.
Yeah.
Kane is already in the Hall of Fame. There you are. Who'd have thought it?
Oh yeah, because Taker inducted him. Who'd have remembered?
Yeah, there you are. 2019, Mace was a commentator. Did you like Renee Young as a commentator? Do you know what? She wasn't the worst.
Yeah, no, I actually like Renee Young because she actually knew what she was talking about when it came to commentary. Whereas, like, some of these guys they'd bring in from, like, NFL and other sports, they haven't got a Scooby-Doo. At least Renee knew what she was talking about.
Absolutely, indeed. CD says the 841 match is a thing in TNA. WWE could do that. They certainly could do. I wonder if TNA saw my video back in 2016. Probably not. Probably not. Bob says, who would you put on the front of the WWE 2K26 front cover? This is an interesting question. I like this question. All of them are good questions, but I like this question.
Yeah. Oh, that is a good shout. I'm sure Dominic Mysterio.
Oi. Wow.
Yeah. Look,
I
the
like
guy
it.
is on fire at the minute.
Bold.
Dominic Mysterio.
That's bold. That's really bold. I'd go CM Punk.
When he's posted, yeah, again, he's already been on one, but yeah, CM Punk is also the right answer.
I think it's just, in my opinion, I feel like he was, I think it was 2K13 he was on there the last time, and now he's come back, he's a world champion as well. I don't know, I just think that yeah, it's just for those that don't follow WWE, it's just a thing of like, I don't know, just might get to a different couple of eyeballs of, by the way, you know he's back, yeah? I don't know, just might bring a couple more people in. So yeah, I'd go with Punk.
Mr. One or Joe Hendry as honorable nominations. No. Correction. Ethan Page and Chelsea Green should be the cover stars of 2K26.
I love it. I love it. Even though it's never going to happen, I love it. I do love it. But you mentioned Joe Hendry. You mentioned Mr. Iguana at DLC, TNA, AAA. They will be there. They will beat DLCs this year.
Big year for that game. Yeah.
I want to see as well a retro TNA pack as well. I don't want to see one TNA pack. I want to see two. I want to see of current TNA stars that are invading NXT on a regular basis, and I want to see classic ones. I want to see like a retro AJ Styles, for example, be in the game. I want to see like I don't know, Mickey James, for example, could be in that pack. For example, you play with those sort of ones back from like 2010. Bobby Roode like could be there as well, like Beer Money.
I want to see a GF. I want to see a Global Force Wrestling DLC package where Jeff Jarrett took over, and God, what was it? What was his name after TNA for a while? It became something else as well. What did they change it to?
Impact Wrestling.
Back to TNA. Impact Wrestling, yeah. And there needs to be like an Impact DLC where you get like classic Kurt Angle and stuff like that, and yeah, like Crow Sting and all that. If they can like get him on a Legends contract or something.
Certainly, indeed.
No, not Joker Sting. Sorry, Joker Sting.
I love Joker Sting. Thea Hal for the cover for Bob. Love that, Bob.
Maybe. I doubt it, but maybe.
But put it with Joe Hendry, it'll be fine. It'll work well. Bob says, Tony Khan for me. He created the best character in Timeless Tony Storm. Fair on that one. Although I love Timeless Tony Storm, but I think Hangman is the man this year. He's certainly the one with the best character for me at the moment. But saying that though,
all day for Chelsea Green was the best character in pro wrestling.
Yeah, I understand that. I totally get that. Seth Rollins, imagine him was the back of the cover for that, and CM Punk on the front. That would play well into the feud.
You almost need to like do like they did the other year with Belair, Ripley, and Cody. Then it needs to be like a couple of stars, like next year, like a Penta. Do you know what I mean? You get some get the popular household names on there.
It will be fun. It will be nice to see. An unpopular opinion, I really thought that Impact Wrestling from 2018 to 2013 was 2023. Sorry, my God, you can tell it's late. Was legendary to CD. Do you know what? I'm going to agree with that unpopular opinion because 2018 is my favorite year of TNA. Freaking love Slammiversary that year. It's my favorite Impact / TNA show of all time.
If that's Aces and Eights territory, then sure.
Oh, that'd be 2012.
It's probably not.
Yeah.
It's way before that. Yeah.
It was like Austin Aries and John Morrison, and yeah, the Lucha Bros were in at that point. Sammy Callahan, and one of my favorite characters at the time, Sue Young, the Undead Realm stuff. You know, it was like watching a female Undertaker. It was bloody awesome. And I think it was Josh Matthews and I believe Don Callis on commentary, and that was just the moment I was just like, you know, canny piece of S word, but freaking really good at his job. I really got into Don Callis.
That's also when Don Callis got Kenny Omega to bring the AEW Championship to TNA, wasn't it? That's that period as well. Like in a couple of the later part of that 2020, 2023 era.
Yeah, just before he left, yeah. And yeah, CD mentions that main event there for us, which was Moose Austin Aries. Yeah, good stuff indeed. Killer Cross was around as well in that time also. So yeah, good times.
Yeah.
One day we'll review it, CD. Maybe Slammiversary next year around that time. Kurt Angel said his best time wrestling was in TNA over WWE. Yeah, his match-wise certainly would be great. I think it's time we wrap it up there, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for joining. It's been a lot of fun. We've really had a good time here talking all sorts of things, including our retro today, which was Survivor Series 2001. We'll be back for a December edition as well. So make sure you're going to do that. If you're in Survivor Series mood and you want to see another retro, we did one earlier this year of 2002. That is on the channel right now. You can go and check that out. NXT, any final words before we wrap up today?
No, always a pleasure, buddy. Look forward to the next one.
Bring it on. That should be I think that our next video will be Survivor Series 2025 predictions live.
Yeah, sounds about fun.
Yeah, we'll do that. Take it easy, look after yourselves. We'll see you for the next one. And guess what? The end is here.